Nama saya Kong Jai daripada BITM Section 1 Group 1 dan tajuk saya ialah Web Server. Table content Web Server saya ialah what is Web Server, example of Web Server, architecture of Web Server, evolution of Web Server dengan the most popular Web Server in 2019 until 2020 with their comparison and what it become popular. What is Web Server? Web Server is a computer system that can deliver web content to end users via the internet using a web browser and to display website content by storing, processing, and delivering web pages to users. And the web server also supports HTTP, which is Hypertext Transfer Protocol, to respond to client requests made over the World Wide Web, which is www. The example of web server is Apache, Tomcat, IIS, Internet Information Service. What is architecture of web server? The architecture of web server is client-server architecture, and it has client tasks and server tasks. Client tasks provide a way for users to submit queries, run applications that use the result of queries, and display result of queries. And the server task is implement a data manipulation language that can directly access and update the database. The architecture type been classified to three, which is one-tier architecture, two-tier architecture, and three-tier architecture. The evolution of web server F5 in 1991, Sun HTTP, which is first web server of the world, is developed by Berners-Lee and his developers. It starts transcontinental web communications between web browsers and web servers. In 1994, NCSA HTTP is developed. It could serve dynamically generate content by implementing the post-HTTP method and the CGI to communicate with external programs. In 1995, the first version of IIS was released by Microsoft. In 1996 to 1999, Netscape and the Enterprise Server and Microsoft IIS emerged among the leading commercial options. Apache HTTP Server held the lead as the preferred server till 2015. After 2000, many other open source programs like Lightspeed has excellent quality and very high performance and available with commercial support. What is the most popular web server in 2019 until 2020 and with their comparisons? The most popular web server in 2019 and 2020 is Apache, which is 20%, and followed by Microsoft. Why Apache become popular? The Apache is highly flexible and customizable, and functionalities and can be easily turned on and off. Apache also regular update and security patches, and Apache also open sources, and Apache also can offer users the most flexible environment to run a server. That's all for me. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum and hi, my name is Farah from Group 2. Today I will present about web browser. What is a web browser? Web browser is a software application for retrieving, presenting, and traversing information resource on the World Wide Web. And information resource is identified by a uniform resource identifier with URI and may be a web page, image, video, or other piece of content. And next is the example of web browser, which are Google, Opera, Microsoft Edge, Mozilla Firefox, and Apple Safari. Next is architecture of web browser. This is the diagram of the architecture. The architecture of web browser contains 4 types, which are controller, client, display, and networking. First, the controller is to obtain the coordinate of the user cursor from windowing system and compare them with the coordinate of the object displayed in the page. For the client, if a link has been selected, the controller extract the scheme of from the URL to determine which client, such as HTTP, HTTPS, or FTP, will be used to fetch the document. And display is the browser will fetch the document, and depending on the document type, HTML, XML, or PDF, for the appropriate interpreter to render and display the document. And the networking is to handle all the aspects of internet communication and security. The network component may implement a cache of retrieved document in order to reduce network traffic. Next, the evolution version of web browser. The web browser start with the Mosaic, and the World Wide Web era and the development of web browser began with the release of Mosaic in 1993. Netscape Navigator appeared shortly after Mosaic, and after Microsoft released the Internet Explorer in 1995, the battle between Netscape and Microsoft officially began. Because the Internet Explorer was included with Microsoft well-known Windows operating system, the company enjoyed a significant advantage. And over 90% of the market for web browser in 2002 belonged to Microsoft Internet Explorer. To create an open source web browser that will become Firefox, Netscape established the Mozilla Foundation in the 1990. With their web browser Safari, Apple entered the fray in 2003. The speed between widely used on Apple devices, Safari never gained popularity among the PC users. Next, the Google jumped into the web browser market in 2008 with Chrome. By 2012, Chrome has absorbed market share from the competitors and was the dominant web browser in the market. When the web browser were in their infancy, almost all the connections to the world wide were through dial-up modem. And many of the technologies we take for granted today were just not possible with the slow transfer speed of the dial modem days. Things like game playing, streaming service, YouTube video, and other data-intensive activity were not available. I can remember connecting with 300 baht modem and waiting hours for a file to download. Today, the same file download in the blink of eye. As the connection and data transfer speed increase, the web browser technology will continue to keep pace and bring us more capabilities than we ever did. Next is the evolution timeline of the web browser. Start with Netscape, Mosaic, Netscape, Internet Explorer, Firefox, Safari, Mozilla, Netscape, Mosaic, Netscape, Internet Explorer, Opera, Mozilla, Safari, Firefox, Internet Explorer, and last Google Chrome. This you can read yourself. Okay, in 1990, World Wide Web renamed as Netscape or Netscape to avoid confusion with the www system for the first graphical web browser and WYSI HTML editor. It was developed by Tim Berners-Lee, the inventor of the web, and roughly of 4 million users. And for Mosaic, it was designed for making the internet more well-known to the public, to online, and many of the graphical user interface feature of Mosaic laptop orientation bar that offer basic functionality are still used by the contemporary browser like IE and Firefox. In 1994, Netscape, the lead software engineer of Mosaic, Mark Anderson, tried out on his own, founding Netscape and launching Netscape Navigator, the first commercial web browser. Internet Explorer in 1995, the first browser industry war was physically started when Microsoft released its own browser called Internet Explorer. And Opera on 1996, the biggest Norwegian telecom provider Telenor made Opera available to the general population, and Opera began adapting to mobile device platform in an effort to dominate the market for internet-enabled mobile device. In 1998, the Mozilla Firefox aimed to create the communicator synthesizer, and it became evident that a project based on the existing source code was challenging and attention turned to build from scratch. Sorry. The Internet Explorer, because it integrated with the Windows operating system, Microsoft Internet Explorer surpassed a 95% share. And for Apple Safari in 2003, it includes the reliable layout engine WebKit, which is used in many mobile devices such as Google and Nokia phone, and only reserved for Apple products. And in 2004, Firefox hit the scene with a big early adopter following due to their beta release. And 2006, again Internet Explorer released version 7. And next, 2008, Google launched its own web browser, entering into the web browser battle in the market share. Okay, last slide is the most popular web browser in 2019 and 2020, and the comparison to other web browsers and why it became popular. The most popular web browser is the Google Chrome. As of November 2020, Google Chrome holds a whopping 7.33% of the desktop browser market share worldwide, and it is popular because it can open heavy pages very quickly compared to the other web browser, and it more secure as well as security patch and bug fix, and more comfortable to devices. The comparison of web browser between Chrome, Safari, and Firefox. For Chrome, Safari, and Firefox, it has Cloud Sync, download manager, and private browser. But for tab on the side and custom extension and full screen mode, it has in Chrome and Firefox, while Safari don't have. And Chrome and Firefox has same platform. It can open in Windows, Mac OS, Linux, Android, and iOS, while Safari is only for Mac OS and iOS. Thank you.
A very good evening to my fellow friends. I'm Lai Ka-heng from Group 3. Now I'm going to present system architecture topic regarding 2-tier and 3-tier architecture. So as an introduction, a system architecture is the conceptual model that defines the structure, behavior, and more views of a system. It can consist of a system components and the subsystem developed that will work together to implement the overall system. So there are 3 purposes of the system architecture process. The first one is to generate system architecture alternatives. Second one is to select one or more alternatives that frame stakeholder concerns and meet system requirements. Or the third one is to express this in a set of consistent views. So now let's look at the 2-tier architecture. So from this figure, we can see that 2-tier architecture consists of client tier and also database tier. So client has to request data or resources to server, and server will process the request and give back the response. So both of the 2-tier communication, communicate with each other through internet or any network. So for information, it is easy to maintain and modify. And the communication between 2 tiers in form of request and response in 2-tier architecture is very fast. The example system that use 2-tier architecture are desktop application and desktop game. For the 3-tier architecture, so here we can see that it consists of 3 layers, which are client tier, business logic tier, also known as application tier, and database tier. So if compared to 2-tier architecture, we can see that 3-tier architecture has an additional layer, which is this business logic tier. So this layer acts as an interface communicate between client and data layer, and it not only helps in communicate between client tier and data tier, but also provide the security. And next, it will process functional logic constraint and rule before passing data to the user from DBMS. And besides, it's used to separate the user application and physical database, and also program data independence and support multiple views of the data. So the example system that uses three-tier architecture is web-based application. Next is about advantages. So the advantages of two-tier architecture is application can be easily developed due to the simplicity. The next, communication is faster because it only has 2 slides. The next, maximum user satisfaction is gained with accurate, fast prototyping of application. Or for the three-tier architecture, the data security is guaranteed because the client is not direct access to the database, and it has a faster development because each tier can be developed simultaneously. And in addition, three-tier architecture can enhance reusage. Means a simple logic can be sustained in many client or application. On the other hand, for the disadvantages of the architecture, the two-tier architecture is lack of data and software security. The performance will be degraded when increasing of user, and it is cost ineffective. Or for the three-tier architecture, it is comparatively much complex to maintain as well as build. It will increase the effort as well as the points of communication are doubled. So in conclusion, the main difference between two-tier and three-tier architecture is two-tier architecture is for client-server application, and it consists of 2 layers and is run slower. While for the three-tier architecture, is for web-based application, and it consists of 3 layers and is run faster compared to the two-tier architecture. So that's all from me. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Nurul Shafika and I'm from Group 4. So I will be presenting about Git and also GitHub. Okay, so starting from the introduction, from Git, advantages and also disadvantages, and how to install and configure them. Okay, so what is Git? So basically Git is the actual version of control software, and it was created by Linus Torvald, who is actually the creator of Linux in 2005. So the main purpose of Git is actually to manage source code in software development or a file that can change over time. So basically, Git helps in tracking codes by storing them in versions on its own local repository called GitHub. Okay, so, Git also runs on the command line, and a code can be put into the cloud on GitHub, GitLab, or Bitbucket. So there are actually 3 local areas of Git that are the working directory, staging area, and also Git repository. The object includes blobs, trees, commits, tags. So basically, blobs and trees represent file, and directories and tags are the metadata. So there are actually 3 main parts of Git project, which is the Git directory, working tree, and also staging area. Okay, that one. All right. Okay, so the Git, you can undo the code if you make mistakes, and then you can also share with the team. Okay, this is Git. Okay, moving on to GitHub. So GitHub is basically a software platform where you can share your codes, and you can even edit them lah. Okay, so we can manage a project across multiple computers, and one can actually sync from anywhere. You can track issues, build and test the things, and finally you can develop a project using GitHub. Okay, so why we use GitHub? It is because the version control, you can keep your code in one place, and it is actually a great collaboration platform. And there is four types of software, which is the Git, GitHub, and GitHub Desktop. These 3 is actually the main lah, the Git, GitHub, and GitHub Desktop. Okay, so on case. So this is the differences between Git and also GitHub. Okay, Git is actually a local repository, while GitHub is a central repository. Okay, so Git, it is a software, and it is installed and maintained in the local system, and it has branching model sets Git apart. While GitHub, it is actually a service, okay, and it is designed as Git repository hosting service. GitHub is solely a cloud-based service, and then you can share your code with others, giving them the power to make revisions or edit. Next is this one. Git is a command line tool that requires an interface to interact with the world, while GitHub, it provides graphical interface and a development platform created for millions of developers. And GitHub is actually much more interesting rather than Git, because Git it doesn't have the graphical interface. So basically, it's just like when you write the code and it's only like command line lah, and it's very boring. Okay, and then Git can work without GitHub, as other web-based Git repositories are also available. While GitHub is actually well-known Git server, however, there are other options like Bitbucket. Bitbucket, this is the logo, and GitLab, yang macam Booth ni. Yang macam Fox. Okay, moving on to the advantages of Git. So it is free and open source, and you can easily download the source code in any and performs changes to it. Next is Git is data redundancy and replication, so add-ons can be written in so many languages. Next, moving on to disadvantages of Git. Okay, so Git have poor GUI and usability. They also take a lot of resources, which slows down their performances. And then Git needs multiple branches to support parallel developments used by the developers. Okay, next, the advantages of GitHub. So Markdown allows you to use a simple text editor to write formatted documents, and it supports Markdown for issue tracking, user comments, and many more. Gits and GitHub pages. So Git lets you convert one or several files into working Git repository, and the feature converted sharing and tracking changes made to configuration files and even simple script into a whole new level of ease. Next would be GitHub can use for collaboration, where if you have a team and then you want to share the code to make it together, you can use GitHub to collab. Okay, last but not least would be backup. So GitHub use cloud, and then it has an online repository that should never be considered infallible, and it provides a nice and simple way to have code and version history available online regardless of what happens to your local machine. What does it mean? If you have your own code and then after you're making changes to it, but there's certain errors going through, then you can actually reverse and undo them, so it will be the original code. Okay. This is the disadvantages of GitHub. So it is actually difficult to use for beginners since it has complex style to it. Okay, later I will explain more. 2, the security. Okay, GitHub actually offer private repositories on both free and paid tiers, but the private repositories have their issues since everyone is putting their code in one platform, okay, which is GitHub. So everyone can access them and log in and even change them. So the security is not really secure lah. And then the third one would be pricing, because it has having an own internal servers are often better off using their own internal Git for cost reasons. So okay, I will be explaining on how to install Git. Okay, so so this is how you install Git. Okay, so basically, first of all, what you have to do is to go to this URL, okay, github.com, and then as usual, you just go download the Git from this thing, okay, GitHub. Okay, so we usually download for Windows lah. And then right after you download them, okay, you will get these three, okay, Git GUI, Git CMD, Git Bash. Okay, so basically dekat Git ni, usually you run the code, okay. So first of all, if you have the Git, okay, you need to enter lah this command. Okay, this one is to open the Git bash. Okay, so how do you configure them is to set your username, okay, and email, and then it will configure a list lah for you once you set up for your Git. Okay, next on how to add a new file to your repository. Okay, you have this command line lah, and then create new repository on GitHub after putting this command line, and then you will have, okay, Git can, you will have this branch. You can create a new branch, switch branch, merge branch, stage changes, create commit, and also push branch into GitHub. Okay, so basically this is the starter lah before you install GitHub. Okay, alright, and then on to how to configure GitHub. Okay, so this is how you configure and install GitHub. Okay, so basically you just have to open a browser, okay, and then download the GitHub. Okay, once you install them, you just click run, and then you allow the installation to download and install. So once everything is completed, okay, basically Git dia ada dua, okay, which is GitHub Online and also GitHub Desktop. Okay, so for beginners you have to download the desktop lah juga. This is the desktop. Okay, so and this is the online punya tu. So basically GitHub, you can share your codes and you can also allow the team or anyone to use your code. Okay, and then here is how you insert your code lah. So basically you have the repository, and then if you want to add your code, you have to just click the new, and then you can upload your code lah. So in order for you to change or make any changes or edit or to know who actually edited your code, you can go to the desktop version lah. Okay, so basically that's it. Yeah, that's it. Alright, and then this is the command prompt lah. It's the same thing with Git. You have to, in order for you to create the new repository, which is the new files matu, you have to use this command line. Alright, so basically that's it. Thank you. So far so good, okay, everyone?
So far so good.
Okay, alright, thank you.
Hello all, I am Shamil Aiman. Tonight I will present about XAMPP server package versus WAMP server package. So I think we all quite familiar with this software because we do this in the lab with Madam. So I will proceed. Okay, actually I still confused with certain part in this topic, so if I somehow explain the wrong way, please correct me. Okay, I will state it the definition of XAMPP and WAMP. So basically XAMPP and WAMP have the same usage but differ with the functionalities. So for example, XAMPP adds the XAMPP is for all platforms, but WAMP is only specified for Windows only. So the usage is to how do I say to allow the programmers to write and test their code local web server. Like for example, if we are a programmer, we want to develop a website, and then first we need to apply on server. We need to apply on local host first before implemented to the main server. If I'm not mistaken, Madam used to say that we can use WordPress offline, but we have to use them. So that's the definition. Moving on to advantages and disadvantages. So them easy to configure and to use. It can be used in cross-platform, like I say before. For example, it can be used in Linux, Mac, and Windows. But when only available in Windows, also available for both 64-bit and 32-bit system. So the disadvantages of them is that settings are quite tough to do as compared to RAM server. But for RAM, the disadvantages it's not easy to install as compared to them. Okay, moving to XAMPP versus RAM. I think this one I do the same thing. Okay, see the DBMS. XAMPP and RAM use the same one, MariaDB and MySQL. For programming or scripting language, XAMPP use Perl and PHP, but RAM use PHP only. So the resource for XAMPP is more powerful and resource consuming. For RAM is lightweight and so on. Okay. This one I will share to you guys later. Okay, for the architecture, I'm not sure is this the exact architecture for XAMPP and RAM, but I think it can be used as the concept. So see this, the clients and the server. We have client and the server. So client is the one who provide the service. Private client is the one who request the service, but server is the one who provide the service. So like I told you before that since we need to develop a website in the main server, so we have to test first. In client part. So we use them, right? Okay. This is moving on to how to install them. Basically, open the XAMPP website. Okay, you guys can read this later. I will skip this part. Also, how to install them. Okay, I think that's all for me. Okay, thank you.
I'm Lohi Eun from 6, and I'll be presenting about the front-end development. So, what is the front-end development? The part of websites and web applications that users actually see and interact with is built by front-end developers. So to build these websites, web languages such as HTML, CSS, and JavaScript are used by front-end developers to build websites and applications so that the users can access and interact with it. So the visual components of a website that users see when they visit it were made by the front-end developers. So what is the front-end framework? So every element users see on the screen when they're interacting with websites, web applications, and mobile apps is governed by front-end frameworks in terms of logic, structure, design, behavior, and also the animation. So in order to accelerate the development of an application, developers can include a front-end framework, which is essentially a collection of JavaScript code written by someone else. Then this framework, it resembles of a house that it could contain instructions such as how to construct windows, doors, or specific rooms. Next is the advantages of front-end development. So for the first one, front-end development is easy and quick to get started. So this is because they provide a base development for non-developers to get something up quickly for prototyping or mockups. Secondly, the code is reliable and tested. So cross-browser compatibility is built in so that the developer will know how it will work. And for the third advantage, help is readily available. So front-end frameworks are widely used, so answers to common problems are easy to find. Like when you can search on Google, you can get your answers really quickly. And next, it will be the disadvantages of front-end development. So firstly, you are not really learning how to code because this for front-end development, I think it's more to designs and how to build a website, front page. And this knowledge will make if you know how to code, this knowledge will make life a lot easier when you run into complex challenges. And it's also shape you into a better developer. And for the second disadvantage is that updates can introduce issues. So updating may introduce conflicts with the code. And for the third one is the technical debt. Developers coming onto the project need to understand the framework in order to contribute. And next are the most popular front-end frameworks. So the first one will be Angular, the second one is React, and the third one is Vue.js. And that's all for my front-end development. And thank you.
Okay, my name is Sharifah Hafizah and I will explain about back-end development. Okay. Back-end developers is the person who is in charge of how the website works and manage the security and performance of the site. And developers need to be expert in programming language that render on the server side of a website or application. Also, back-end developers need to be proficient in working with database like MySQL, Oracle, and SQL Server. Back-end framework are the section frameworks created to make tasks hassle-free for developers. This web application framework focus more on scripting language such as PHP, Python, Ruby, and so on. Next is how back-end development works. It consists of three types, which are application, server, and database. Database is where all the information is stored. The server, a computer that receives requests from clients, and application that contains logic about how to respond to different requests. You guys can refer to this diagram. Okay. Next is advantages and disadvantages of using back-end framework. The advantages is first, it runs in different environments, information sharing faster. And impact the website user experience. This disadvantages is no personalized automated operations, limited count operation, less control, security issues, and lastly, delay notifications. And last is the most popular backend framework. This is the top 10, the most popular one. And that's all for me. Thank you.
Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. My name is Serafina. So I will be presenting full stack development. So, next slide. What is full stack developer? Full stack developer is someone who handle both, including back end and also front end development. So which mean contoh kalau tadi Sharifah dia present front end, and then Syamil present back end, right? Front end, is it betul ke? And then dia ada cakap pasal front end developer dengan back end developer, which is back end developer ni yang the ones yang handle coding, such as macam as example macam C++ or Java. So kalau macam front end ni dia more to designing, which is apa yang kita belajar sekarang, web development ni. Kita fokus on JavaScript, and then kita fokus on HTML and also jQuery. So that one is a part of front end development lah. So full stack developer ni dia dua-dua, which is dia handle the back end and the front end development. So dia boleh handle dua-dua lah. If any problem, dia boleh switch any of any role lah for being a back end developer or front end developer. So next is what is full stack framework, which is a collection of software that provided a complete end-to-end solution for web development. It means that software ni framework that provides a basic structure for web application, and also it can be used to develop any type of web application. Next slide. So what full stack developer must do is be up to date with latest technologies and also tools, which is mean dia kena up to date lah. So maybe ada a few company dia tak guna HTML, maybe dia guna macam another designing platform, front end development punya platform yang lain lah. Maybe ada company tu dia guna Laravel ke, and so on. And then second, dia kena write clean code for front end and also back end, which is maksudnya dia expert in both parts lah. Dia boleh buat front end punya coding and also back end punya coding. And then the third one, kau boleh ke the next slide. Okay, thank you. And then in third one, dia help in choosing the right technologies for project development, and also and test the system both in back end and front end. Typo. So maksudnya bila dia handle project, mostly dia akan more dominate in both areas lah. So if dia rasa macam back end punya development tu problem, so dia boleh ubah, and also kalau dia rasa front end development tu dia ada problem pun dia boleh ubah juga, sebab dia expert in both areas. And then the fourth one, the last one, is the considering security, maintenance, and also scalability and more when developing. Sebab nowadays, if you guys know, like macam tahu tak sekarang ada phishing punya problem. So this developer ni dia macam kena buat coding which more have the most security lah, and also dia boleh maintenance if anything problems, and also dia ada capability untuk developing any upgrade based on customer ataupun client punya permintaan. So the next slide, advantages dia is to kerjai. Next slide. Okay, thank you. So the advantages is to help improve efficiency of development process, which is kalau seseorang tu hanya mahir or expert in only back end or either front end, maybe dia tak boleh nak tolong in a part of back end or either front end. Contohlah kalau dia expert in back end, maybe dia tak boleh tolong bahagian designing punya web structure lah. So kalau orang tu expert in area of front end, maybe dia tak boleh nak design write code for back end punya areas. So advantages for front end ni dia tak ada problem lah, sebab dua-dua area dia okay, dia boleh buat, no problem. Anything problem dia boleh solve lah. So, and then the second advantages is provide higher level of flexibility. So, as what I said, dia flexible lah. Any boleh dua-dua. Disadvantages dia more time needed, which is untuk seseorang tu expert in both sides, in both areas, it takes time lah. And it also dia boleh belajar based on experience lah. Contoh kalau maybe the starting dia kerja selalunya starting from back end lah. Maybe bila dia nak try new things, belajar benda baru, dia boleh tambah skills by belajar bahagian front end juga. So dia takes time lah untuk seseorang itu lahir dengan both capabilities untuk front end. Untuk jadi full stack developer adalah susah lah. So the last one, slow down the process. Slow down the process tu dia macam bila dia seorang je handle, sebab dia tahu both area, dia macam susah lah sebab dia je yang reti. Sebab other people tak reti both areas kan. So it takes time lah and slow down the process. Okay, so sebagai contoh in macam real life situation, ada a few company dia macam fokus on back end saja. So adakah sesebuah company tu memerlukan full stack developer? Tapi sebenarnya in hakikatnya ada company yang tak fokus pun untuk cari or hire ruang kosong mencari pekerja yang full stack developer, sebab ada a few company dia fokus on back end. Contoh kenapa dia fokus on back end? Sebab keperluan dia untuk designing web tu bukanlah memerlukan sangat dalam company dia. So contohlah kalau any company tu dia fokus on back end, dia memerlukan juga front end development, but bukan dalam masa jangka yang terdekat. Maksudnya contoh dia ada coding, dia nak buat website, tapi nak buat website tu sekali je nak design, betul tak? So maybe dia akan hire, dia panggil another company. So dari sini wujudlah tender di mana dia akan pilih template mana yang sesuai untuk company dia. Which is macam kat situ akan ada interaction between front end developer and also back end developer. So keperluan full stack developer in every company itu adalah bukanlah not necessary, but dia limited lah. Itulah. I think that's the end of the presentation. So thank you. If any question, if there are any question, boleh tanya lah. Thank you. Assalamualaikum.